Hello, everybody. I'm Alex Daly. I'm the technical evangelist for Virtual Earth and MapPoint at Microsoft. I'm going to talk today on how to build location-centric services with Virtual Earth. I apologize if I'm a little hoarse today. It's a little loud in that towel place and these other places they hold the events. So just tell me if I need to speak up or anything. So location-centric applications have sort of become all the buzz here. Apparently not enough to fill this room quite all the way at the last session, but they've really become all the buzz in the last few months. You guys have seen all the mashup applications, I'm sure. If anyone's not familiar with what I'm talking about, just kind of raise your hand and let me know. I'm sure you guys have seen all the web mapping services that have come out and all the resultant products that have been built on top of those things. Well, it's definitely an interesting experience and interesting to see all that come to fruition because really local, it's core to the web experience. The web experience is ultimately about connecting with people, connecting with places and information in a convenient, accessible way. We find that the vast majority of information on the internet is really related to location in some respect. So it's a natural fit for these mapping applications to really take over and start to fill some of the interfaces as they become easier to use and a little bit simpler to learn. You don't have to have GIS application experience necessarily to build these great location applications. So sort of any type of data that you're talking about on the internet generally has some sort of location focus in it. So location in your application, really the reason you'd want to build it in is about relevance by proximity to your users, about the ability to give your users information that is convenient to them. So if I go on the web and I go to that popular G-starting search engine and type in pizza, I'm not necessarily going to get results that matter to me. I'm probably going to get Domino's central corporate website or something like that. I'm not going to find local pizza parlors in my area until I start to dive down into local search and sort of add location to that. But the same thing comes if you know something about your customer's location. If you can track them in real time, or they provide their location, or you reverse geocode their IP address so you can figure out where they are, you can provide relevant information right up front without the users even having to sort of specify what they want. And it provides a really easy, simple, intuitive experience. I mean, raise your hand if you've never used a map. Exactly. So it's a familiar paradigm that users are used to, so it makes a very convenient, fast access. And maps are a natural filter. The further you get into a map, deeper in, the information that's outside of the bounds of what you're looking at, what you're concentrating on, or in the case of on the web, what's in your browser window, it's an instant filter. You can just pull out the information that isn't necessary. So, and then you can also bring this sort of rich experience to it as well with imagery, with the ability to sort of see what it's like to be there and sort of understand, hey, I'm headed out to Las Vegas for this conference. I heard great things about this restaurant. Let me try to find it. Well, it's great to find it on a map and all, but to be able to see the building so you recognize it when you get there, not such a big problem, I guess, in Las Vegas when the signs are like the size of the buildings. But if you're toiling around downtown San Francisco looking for that great little dive bar, it's great to be able to understand in context what it's near, what it looks like, things like that. So these location experiences in your apps can help bring that convenience, that relevance to your users. So at Microsoft, we've actually started a project recently, in the past just about a year old now, called Virtual Earth. And Virtual Earth is generally the idea is to create a full immersive 3D model of Earth with real-time information, a full digital representation of life on this planet. I've seen a few of the other companies venture out to Mars and the moon and things like that, but we're concentrating right now on those places you can drive to or fly to. But the Virtual Earth vision ultimately is about global access to local knowledge, being able to capture and codify that knowledge that people have about their local communities that right now isn't even surfaced on the web, isn't surfaced on the internet anywhere. So we want to be able to enable people to share that information and enable you to discover and benefit from that information better. And as part of that platform, we're really trying to build a great commercial mapping experience. We can't be the be-all and end-all of everything local. Local isn't like web results where you're searching for what's the conversion rate from Fahrenheit to Celsius, or the latest blog entry on the Bush administration's foibles of late. It's very contextually relevant. So oftentimes you want to know things about trust. You want to know things about the network of people who supplied the information. And it's a lot more relevant to your experience. So for that reason, we really believe that local is something that will be across all the sites on the internet, that it's something that will be key to the experience sort of regardless of where you go across the internet. So we're really trying to build a strong commercial mapping platform so that you can leverage this vision in your applications. And as well, we're really trying to sort of lead the push in local advertising, really understand how we can bring that online. I mean, it's a huge industry, but right now it's yellow pages, it's pay-to-play print advertising. And we really haven't brought that sort of rich experience online yet, but Microsoft's really headed into that, and that's as well, some of the models we're going to take with monetization of this commercial platform won't just be pay basis, but also advertising basis as we move forward. So if you really want to make your application location aware, at the base today, with what platforms are available, there's just a few things that you really need to do. Number one is whatever data it is that you want to get onto the map, you really have to find a way to make that geo-ready, sort of, readily accessible on the map. And it's really just as simple as turning addresses into a latitude and longitude. It sounds like a sort of geeky, mappy thing to do, and it's a process we call geocoding. If I'm sort of a little too low here, just scream out, go faster here. But once you get your data, whether you do this just in time as your application runs, or you do it ahead of time, for instance, if you are, if you represent Starbucks and you have a series of stores, well, it's pretty simple for you to just upload your database of stores to some service on a regular basis and get back the coordinates, or maybe you already know the coordinates from the construction process and you don't even have to do that. So, but it's that simple. It's a really quick, easy step which makes your data ready to put on the map. Then proximity search is sort of next, and this is the more complicated, where you start to get into that heavy math and where the sort of services architecture I'm going to talk about in a little bit comes in handy. Proximity search is one of those big research questions. I would have loved to have pinged these guys on stage in the earlier session about that, about how to do it effectively and fast and quick and respond. But generally, it's the idea of being able to find something in space. How near is this thing to me? And being able to sort relevance, not just by sort of keyword matches and contextual matches, but also that physical relevance. So it's this radial math. So whether you have a spatial database in-house or you use a service like our Virtual Earth services to do this proximity search, that's the necessary part of sort of using the map as a filter, or being able to sort of say, hey, what's the closest McDonald's to 98028 zip code, and it returns the proper results. And then, of course, the visualization layer, which I've sort of talked about a lot. And that's, whether it's maps, whether it's imagery, whether it's some sort of overlay of your data, whether it's, you want to show a weather radar or a driving direction route. You need to be able to do that visualization simply, easily. And then you can, of course, enhance that core application with any number of location services, provide convenience, such as driving directions, real-time location tracking. These are all things that are sort of available today that you can enhance this with, but these three first bullets are really the core to creating that application. So when we actually created the first version of the Virtual Earth platform, which is a combination of a map control component as well as our MapPoint web service with additional enhancements, we really targeted a few core areas. So visualization, spatial services, and data management. So when I talk about the data management portion, what we're talking about is, if you want to do this yourself, if you want to roll your own fancy location-based service, you could buy a really expensive spatial database from one of the big database vendors. I'm talking about big iron stuff. There's not a lot of sort of cheap, quick, MySQL spatial, SQL Server spatial at this point in time. It's still an expensive industry to get into. So we actually let you, through our service, upload your data to us and host it with us, or round trip your data to us through your database. So actually, put in a SQL stored procedure that every time an address gets added to your database, you hit our SOAP APIs and you pull back that geocoded location. So we really let you take control of how your data is stored, whether we store it so that we can scale it up with our architecture, or you store it and you just round trip the data to us for processing. Now on the spatial processing side, of course, there's that geocoding process, being able to turn addresses into latitude and longitude and reverse, being able to say, hey, I'm looking at this point in the map. Can you give me the approximate address so that I can then sort of route here and get where I want to go? So, and then on the visualization side, we have a bunch of different components that are sort of pluggable models of doing visualization to fit different types of applications. And of course, we have all the sort of reporting tools that are necessary to support like large business or even small implementations to be able to say, hey, where are my customers coming from? What are the most frequent zip codes that they're searching on? And all this sort of enterprise business intelligence reporting stuff. So this is all delivered as a services platform, and that's sort of the important part. You can pull out one of the components from each of these sort of core tiers of service and use them individually. But you don't have to build out expensive infrastructure in order to utilize this in your applications. Because it's delivered as a service, you get the scale that Microsoft does. And we support literally millions and millions of users a day on our own sites that are based on this, as well as billions for our customers. So if you just want to come in at a low level and say, hey, I'm a startup site, and I've got this great idea, and I want to map this stuff, you can just benefit from that scale right there off the bat, not have to invest $100,000 in a big iron database or anything like that. And you get that scale automatically. So, in the spatial services side, you get all kinds of different calculations. Find and find address are sort of that core geocoding I talked about. Find nearby is that proximity search. Find in Polygon is where you sort of get real fancy and you'll be able to specify exact areas. I want to be able to, find customers of mine that exist within this predefined delivery location. So I want to see, maybe I want to see the intersection of census data within the 7-minute drive time range of my particular store. So I can say, hey, this store. So you can do sort of really nice visualization analytics, really empower your knowledge workers, and also do things like specific geo-targeting of things like advertising. Be able to say, hey, if I'm Joe's plumber, I only service the east side, and so I can just draw a polygon around the area in which I would actually service, so that I don't show up on people searching for all of Washington State or all of Nevada who are looking for this service. And then find a long route as well, which is sort of another important convenience feature, the ability to find hotels, restaurants, whatever, along a route. So when you're talking travel and hospitality and things like that, it's really important to be able to sort of find that. And as well for landmarking, so sort of helping with directions, you can really use the find a long route to say, hey, you're going to pass the Statue of Liberty on your right. That really helps with that overall experience, the convenience. So I'm going to show you a quick application. Actually, let me talk a little more. So your application would simply call into these services. And the main way to call in is through the SOAP API, right? So this is a standard web service. You just hit our WSDL and you get all of our information for the SDK on what services are available. You call directly in and make your application. So I'm actually going to show you a real quick sample of a SOAP-based application that's sort of in line with the session beyond the browser here. So let me just switch over real quick to my other machine. Check video cable. Had my screensaver turned off, but it didn't work for me. So let me show you a quick application. So I've got Visual Studio open here, and you can see I've got a Pocket PC emulator in here. So I've just drawn up a real quick mobile application, and this just does a basic MSN search of web searches, news searches, things. But you'll see there's actually a Near Me button in here, and what this actually does, if I fire up the emulator here, is I type in a search term, say pizza, for instance, right? And instead of just picking out standard web results, the Near Me actually goes out and searches business listings that we license from companies like Verizon and Dex, from the Yellow Page providers, as well as crawl from the web, from all the different freely available information. And we distill it down to things. So what this actually does is it figures out where I'm at, and then when I hit Near Me, it's going to only return results that are actually near the area where I've queried from. Now, how it works in a standard application, if I'm on a regular Pocket PC, is that it takes the IP address and it reverse geocodes that. And if you have a GPS unit, it uses those GPS coordinates. I've obviously just kind of mocked it up because this is an emulator on my machine, and I've typed in the coordinates. Now, like I said, this is demo code, so let's see how fast it is. So there you go, folks. Pizza. Apparently, Subway serves pizza. Not where I live, but definitely out here, I guess. You can sort of get anything anywhere, can't you? But real simple application. This is just sort of an idea of how the proximity search works. But then when you talk about extending that convenient application, if I'm on my Pocket PC phone, I've got one of those fancy new Palm Trio 700Ws, great phone if you guys are interested. And I could easily bring up this application, do a search, and then say, hey, I really want to go to Metro Pizza in the Ellis Island Casino. I've always wanted to experience what it's like to immigrate to this country with slot machines. So I'm going to click Maps and Directions, real simple here. And then all I'm doing is I'm sending that address back to my service over SOAP, and it's going to return me back all the location information that's necessary. Now, this is firing up a new DLL and rebuilding the SOAP connection and doing all kinds of crap that a normal production application would sort of optimize to do ahead of time. So don't mind the slowness. But this is about getting that information, convenient local access to that so that the customer can understand this is relevant to me. So when I sat here in the hallway and ran this thing, it took about, 4.5, 5 seconds. There we go. So what I've actually done here is, real quick, we just call out to the SOAP and I'm returning a map back to the customer of the actual location where they're headed to, which is, it's great information to have. It's very simple. So we render this GIF completely on the server, and everything's just returned down as a real static image, so you don't have to worry about dependencies on the device that's getting it out. But as well, I also sent down a route map. How do I get from here to there, as well as the sort of standard direction stuff. Now, it's a pretty sort of fancy-looking application, multiple tabs, all this kind of stuff. But all in all, it's very, very simple to build. So I'm actually going to show you guys a little code. So I won't dive into this application because it's got all the mechanics of the MSN search APIs in it. But what I did is I actually built up another application here that's just a distilled version of this one. So if I look at this, this is just a very, very basic form application on the Pocket PC. I threw this thing together literally like yesterday in the speaker room so I could show simpler code. And it took about 5 minutes. So all it is real simple. A couple of boxes that let me specify the area I'm in, as well as a couple of events. So when I click the search button, it's really, really simple. It just checks through my data source, says, okay, am I looking in North America or Europe or just general worldwide data, which is sort of like city-to-city routing. So we don't know a lot about the roads in the middle of East Timbuktu, but it definitely tell you how to get across the major highways from place to place. And real simple, I just actually sort of codify my latitude and longitude here by calling out to this my find service and sending it an address that I type in. So real simple. And then once it's got that, it's very, very simple. Just calls out over SOAP, and then it refreshes the map, which is a real simple matter of just sending it exactly what height and width my application has. So if I'm on one of these new Verizons with the square screen, it's automatically going to adjust everything accordingly. So all in all, 35, 40 lines of code per method, 2 or 3 methods, real simple. So let me just fire this thing up. I'll turn off debugging. So, oh great, here we go. We've got function lock turned off on this keyboard. All right, so I'm just going to put this into my emulator, and you'll see it's a real, real simple application. 1 text box, 2 drop-downs, and the Go button. And as soon as I bring this up, I'll show you how it works. And basically, all I'm doing in this thing is I'm passing it some credentials. You have to have credentials to verify that you can access the service. To send it my username and password, I collect up the user query, get the latitude and longitude from it, and then I just turn that into a map. The service actually does all kinds of great things, like best fit views. So if I type in a city name, it's going to automatically center on the city name. It's going to be able to, it's going to be able to fit the entire city into the view. Whereas I type in a specific street address, hey, it's not going to zoom out to the state level. It's going to zoom all the way down into that address. You don't have to specify any of that stuff. All the intelligence is within the service. So if I actually just want to search for Las Vegas in North America, it's real simple. I just hit go. It's going to go out, fetch a map for me. And like I said, not exactly optimized to pre-bind the SOAP connection or anything like that. As you can see, it moved my slider, and it gives me a city view of Las Vegas. And real simple, if I want to just zoom in on this thing, I just built this little slider. It just calls back, gives it a zoom level. Very, very simple. So real basic application. We're talking 80 lines of code, 30 minutes worth of work, and you've got full mapping in your application. Real simple. And now you're not limited to the Pocket PC. I mean, this isn't little maps. This isn't, the little things you see hidden up in the corner of websites everywhere. It scales to the size of the application that you have. So, if you want to do this in a desktop application, you have a rich client or smart client application that is connected, and you want to be able to add this kind of mapping functionality, it's real, real simple. You just simply take the same exact code base, which is all I did. I just copied over the search forms and the drop-down boxes and dropped it on a regular WIMS forms application. And I'll put in something different just for fun. You guys are tired of Vegas examples and Elvis jokes, I'm sure. But real simple, I type in San Antonio, hit find, and boom, we've got a map. So, this scales to the size and form factor of your device, type of application, whether it's a, connected small client, a thin client, or a rich application on the desktop. Now, we put in some simple sort of, how to rezoom. I can just double-click on this thing. It'll turn my pixel into a latitude and longitude, at least theoretically. Maybe I commented out that piece of code. Yeah, there you go. And I can sort of rezoom my map wherever I need to, move around, pan. Real simple. But, I had to build a little bit of that navigation functionality in myself because it is just a static image. But, and that's always been sort of the problem with mapping application, mapping services. So, this technology is great. You really get, you get awesome sort of service-based information. Does all the pre-calculation for you. It'll store your data. It'll return the results. It'll return the routes. Do all those things. But then you've got to sort of build the user experience around it. You've got a static map image. So you've got to add zoom and pan and all these different types of buttons. And, that's useful in some respects. But, in other respects, it's busy work, right? You want to be able to control the look and feel of your site. You want to be able to control the user experience. But what you don't want to do is reinvent the wheel every time you build a site. Everyone who builds one of these things shouldn't have to do that. So what we've done with the next sort of step in Virtual Earth is introduce another technology. So first we had SOAP to access this. And now what we've actually done is we've introduced a map control. And the map control actually calls directly back to the service itself. You embed it in your application. And it calls back using JavaScript to do the visualization, to do the spatial services. It calls back in and can pull your data out. So, it's a rich component. So if you're used to developing in, WinForms or WPF or an environment, even ASP.NET like that, you're used to these rich controls that have the functionality built in. You don't have to write all this information. So that's the sort of purpose of the map control. And what it is, right now it's a browser-based component only. So you integrate it into your existing applications. It gives you all the mapping, all the imagery, and all that with minimal amounts of coding. And then we expose all the APIs so that you can then customize it accordingly. You don't like this functionality, turn it off. You don't like the way it looks, change it. That's fine. We give you pixel-level control and full customization of it, but we build in all the default behaviors so that you get this really rich. And this is built on Ajax technology. So this thing is actually, it's a real responsive user experience. You get the thing reacts like a normal desktop application. You don't have to have the problem like I just did where I double-clicked on my map and I didn't even know if it was doing something or it was going to recenter, and I got to wait for the web to respond. It's no longer that sort of static paged experience, but it's a real interactive, immersive application. And then it's meant to easily bind to your data, to be able to pull up whatever data that you have, that you've geocoded, and put it right on top of the maps. You get all kinds of different things beyond that. With the SOAP APIs today, you get this sort of road data in the bottom right corner, the ability to show basic standard vector road maps. But you also get, with the map control, the ability to show overhead, sort of, top right corner there, orthogonal aerial imagery. You guys have seen it on all the mapping sites. You've seen all that stuff. But then you get a lot of the advantages of Microsoft's investment in this Virtual Earth platform, in this 3D representation of the world itself. As we move forward in making that vision a reality, we're making huge investments in immersive imagery, immersive experiences that let you know what it's like to be there. So you get the advantage of this imagery over here on the left. This is available in the product. That's your Venetian hotel right here from the strip. 3D view, sort of 2.5D view of this stuff. We fly planes right over and take pictures of this. We cover like 25% of the American population today, 80% in 2 years, international expansion. So you get this kind of really awesome what it's like there experience to be able to add to your application. So, let me show you a couple examples of some of the things that customers have already built on top of the map control and with the services on the back end, right? So a great example is a company called LoopNet, actually. They're the #1 commercial real estate provider on the web. So they provide a platform to their customers. About 300 or so sites are powered by LoopNet's application, which is, thus sort of powered by Virtual Earth. So we've provided them with the tools to service their clients more effectively to provide the best real estate search experience. And we were able to do that with real quick development times, real simple application development lifecycle. So I'm going to just switch back to my demo machine here and pull up an Internet Explorer window. So what you see here, actually, is a version of our map control, right? So before I dive into LoopNet and what it does and exactly how it works and everything, let me show you this other site. This is Windows Live Local. This is our premier local search site as part of the new Windows Live initiative. So Windows Live Local is an awesome site, very easy to navigate. I can just drag my map around, do really, really simple movements, and zoom in, and this thing reacts exactly how I would expect it to. Now, like I said, this is a local search application, so it's really, it's about exploring the area where you want to be, where you want to go, or where you're at today. So if I just type about in pizza in Las Vegas here, I said no more Las Vegas examples, but I guess I'm not that creative. I get a real simple view of Las Vegas, and I get to zoom right in to the center of the city here. Sorry about that. Mouse wheel here is a little slow. I can zoom right into the center of the city. I can see Las Vegas. I can pick out, hey, look, here's some of the premium outlets and all that kind of stuff. And I can even scroll down and, hey, look, we've got the Venetian and Bally's and Caesars and all that stuff. So if I want to find pizza in this area, you can see as I zoomed around, that list on the left and these push pins on the map, they updated automatically. This is that, map as a filter experience that I was talking about. This is where the map itself tells me, hey, I don't really care about pizza all the way out by McCarran or something. I'm here, I'm at Caesar's Palace, I care about pizza that's in this area. So, as in that close to Caesar's Palace that I can see, there's only 2 pizza places. I don't want to take a cab, I don't want to walk 40 blocks, so I'm just going to head over to Presto Pizza. And real simple, rich application, rich model, I can just drive to there, real simple. If I want to get my directions, I'm at Harrah's, I'm really lazy, I'm going to get directions that short. And it's simple. You see, it's a right-click experience. It puts you around right on the map, but it's that rich, sort of snappy desktop experience that you're used to. So let you do all of that kind of desktop-like application. So the core of this, everything that's sort of below that top white bar and sort of outside of these local search results, this mapping experience itself, this is that map control that I was telling you about. So what LoopNet's done is they've taken that map control. Now, they've done minimal customization to it, but they have customized it to make sure that it fits their look and feel, their color schemes, their everything else, and then they've attached their data to it. They have listings of commercial real estate for sale. So it's really, really simple. They geocode their commercial real estate results. They get a new listing from a broker. They put it into the system, round trips out to us. We tell them what the coordinates are. They store that. And then when they bring up this map, you can see the search results for a local search for this commercial real estate. If I pan off out to another area, it'll refresh the results and give me the most sort of relevant results to the current view that I'm in as I pan around. And it's really real simple. So they're able to create that map as a filter experience for their commercial real estate customers. So, if I'm looking for some particular type of building or something like that, I can say, hey, I only care about, units with, 25 rooms or more. And real simple, it'll bring up those results. So it looks like there's nothing that big in downtown Seattle, no surprise. We're a little crunched for space, but if I wanted something that was, say, $6.5 million or more, no problem in Seattle. There's plenty of those available. So you get that, filter experience, but the map as well as their own sort of specific data, and they draw that up, and it's real simple. Hey, if anybody's interested, the Empress on 5th is for sale. It's great. Anyone to chip in, we'll pass a hat around, and we'll all buy in together. It's only $16 million. But real simple, real basic, use the map control. And to build this type of application, it's not difficult. I'll show you a little code now. I'm just going to open up Visual Web Developer Express here. Real simple. So what I've got here is just a sort of hello world, how easy it is to embed our map control into your existing application. So it's real, it's a basic HTML page. I've got a div here that I've given an ID, map container. You can give it whatever ID you want. You can position and size the div however you feel is appropriate. And then, I've got an on-page load function. Real simple. I pass some parameters. I tell it where I want the map view to start. Tell it what zoom level I want to be on. Our zooms kind of count from 1 down to 19. It just determines. But you don't have to specify any of that. You don't specify any of that, it'll start on your locale. So if I'm US English, it's just going to start right over the USA and all that. And then I just tell it, do I want to show the scale bar? Do I want to show the dashboard, which is those navigation controls? So you can turn all this on and off and create your own versions. So real simple. I just fire that up in a browser. And we're talking, 11 lines of JavaScript code. And already in your application, you've got this full, rich mapping experience. So I can explore, Washington State right here and see exactly what this thing looks like. I can switch over to that aerial view. and do all kinds of interesting, visualizations here. I can layer my data on top of this. But we're talking 11 lines of JavaScript code to get started and get all this functionality right in your application. So if I want to do a little more with this thing, it's pretty simple to sort of integrate this with my application. So I'm just going to jump ahead a few of these, and I'm going to look at this event handlers here. So all I do is sort of standard VB style attach. You'll see it looks a lot like some of the Atlas demos that you guys have seen in Syntax. We're working with the Atlas team. Our site is being built in conjunction with them. So it's based on the same technologies. It's a familiar user experience for you. Now, of course, we and the Atlas team are sort of building in conjunction. So we are not an Atlas-based control at this point in time, because we've had to do some things that they haven't yet implemented, and they've had to implement some things that we can't yet use. So as we sort of both develop forward here, we'll merge that more and more. You see, real simple here. I just said on-end continuous pan. I'm just going to do some event. So all this one does is I've got a document element, just a div, is all it is. I called info, and I'm just going to capture some of the information from the map that normally I might round trip back to my servers in order to do a proximity search based on this data. But here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tell it what my current center point of the map is. So again, very simple code. Let me fire this one up. Just 10 more lines of JavaScript. I can attach to my map. As you can see, the map automatically sizes to the div. So I had an 800 by 800 pixel div in the last page. I got a 400 by 400 here. It doesn't care what size your application is. You can fit it, again, to pixel level customization. But real simple. I have an event that says, hey, I clicked. And as well, it updated right at the top here, my latitude, longitude. So, you've got that sort of VB-like, that event attachment experience. So you can drop this in your application, and then you can, really make it useful, really make it respond to your users. So let me just show you a quick example. I've got some data that I want to grab, and I want to put that in my application. So I'm going to just return out some XML. So what I've done here is I've taken out all that JavaScript spaghetti code and put it in a separate file here, just called xml.js. And all xml.js is that initialization code that I have here, as well as some sort of pretty simple code. Right here, I've just created a bounding box. I've just sort of looked at my map and said, what's the top left and bottom right corner, right? Very simple, just calculate that out. What are those latitude and longitudes? All the methods are there to get that. You don't have to know anything about it. And then we've done some real basic AJAX, HTTP stuff. So real simple, we're just going to make an AJAX call out to a data source. And that data source, all it is actually this My Favorite Place on Earth site that one of our devs wrote. Lets you just add cool places to a map and share them with your friends. It's actually just an RSS output, right? So it's actually GeoRSS. So GeoRSS is an extension of the regular RSS that just adds a couple tags, geo:"latitude, geo:"longitude. It's very complex stuff. I don't expect you to grok it. No, just kidding. Now, it's really simple. So all the existing code that's out there to process RSS, you can utilize that and do this quick, efficient. That's all I've done. I just scraped some code out of somebody else's site, live.com, that processes RSS and dropped it into here. So I'm just pulling that GeoRSS feed. So real simple, if I grab this file and just bring it up, it's just going to bring me up a view of the USA. And then it's actually going to go out when I zoom in on the map, and it's going to grab the results for the particular area. So I'm just going to drag a zoom box here by holding down the Alt key. Another one of these built-in user experiences that you don't have to write yourself. And then, of course, because I'm running this on localhost, I'm going to get all my cross-site scripting errors, and I'll tell my browser to ignore it. And then it just goes out, and it's going to fetch those results. Real simple. It adds push pins to the map. I just specified a little blue div with some, red circles around, red borders around it. But this could be whatever. This could be nice graphics the way LoopNet has. It doesn't have to be a push pin. You could overlay sort of radar-type data or any kind of fuzzy data that you wanted to. It was a real simple experience. But again, the map acts as a filter. As I browse around, you'll see I get results for whatever area I'm looking at. Now, this one uses a pretty, sort of bounding box-based search, so it doesn't do it, radially. And the radial sort of proximity search is what you get when you move up to the service. So this is, you can implement your own search, no matter how simple or crude it is. I mean, this is like a couple of lines of GeoRSS code. As a matter of fact, I think I've got some real simple sample code here of just how simple that proximity search output is. So let me just draw that up here. So if I edit this file, you'll actually see, I know the font size is a little small here, but you'll actually see this is just an ASP.NET page with some really, really simple, select from this database, and it just goes out, for my favorite place on earth, and it just returns, with an ASP repeater, some RSS. So, you're talking about, 5 or 6 lines of procedural ASP.NET code dropped into an RSS file. And that's simple. You've got proximity search. So, very, very simple. You can take this rich mapping, this immersive experience, drop it into your application and build whatever type. So whether it's a social networking application where you want to be able to track the location of your friends or your family, your business colleagues, or you want to be able to, quickly, if any of you went to Brian Arbogast's session, you want to be able to quickly sort of start an event and you want to find something that's convenient to everybody. I mean, that's always my problem. I live on the east side out in Seattle, and all the cool people live out on the west side, so they always make me drive like 3 hours to go do anything. It would be nice if they just brought up a map and found something convenient. Of course, we can't build any application that helps control people and how polite they are, but that's a whole other ballgame. I'd ask the Microsoft research people about that. But if you want to build these applications, real simple for you to get started, just go to msdn.microsoft.com /mappoint. That's our old group name before we decided to change our name to Virtual Earth like a day ago, maybe 3 days ago. And you can find all the SDK information, sample code, all that kind of stuff, as well as we've got this great community site via virtualearth.com. It's run by a bunch of guys out of Australia, Canada, all these places across the world. They've gotten together to build this thing. And they've really built some awesome examples and demos. They have galleries of all the stuff other people have built on top of Virtual Earth. It's a great site. It's honestly better than the stuff that we have on MapPoint at this point on MSDN. And then there's a number of different use models. It's free for non-commercial. So if you want to build up these mashups, go party on. Use it all you want. No rate limits, nothing like that. Just party on it. And then we also offer, if you want to build this into a business, commercial, transactional pricing, licensing models. If you have any questions about that, you can always contact me or just contact maplic@microsoft.com. It's MAPLIC, not the other. So, we offer, and there's a number of other use models that we're working towards as we get, local advertising and things in place, but these are the ones that are available today. So, build a mashup. If it's successful, build a business out of it. You get 99.9% guarantees of uptime with, credits back to your account, all that kind of stuff. All the scalability, service level guarantees, all that stuff that you expect from dealing with a company of Microsoft's caliber. You get that, minimal upfront investment because it's a service. You don't have to worry about, hiring GIS nerds to sit in your back room and run some mapping server and calculate map projections. Raise your hand if you know what the Mercator projection is. All right, see, this is a bunch of mapping geeks. Yeah, so Virtual Earth is based entirely in the Mercator projection. That's just an aside thing. But you don't need that expertise. You don't need to know anything about automatically distorting imagery in order to project it, round imagery onto a square map and all that. All that stuff's done for you. You don't need to know about bandwidth optimization for sending down, tons and tons and tons of these tiles. I mean, we serve out, gigabit upon gigabit of these tiles today. And then one of my favorite questions, on an aside note, before I sort of get into all the questions and all that, is the question everyone always asks is, can I have it as a server? I don't want to rely on a service, right? So can I just have a server that does your Virtual Earth stuff? The answer to that is no, and there's a quick sort of simple reason why. It's 80 terabytes and growing really, really fast. So if you want to buy a box with that many DVD discs in it, you know what? By all means, we'll sell you a server. But yeah, it's tons and tons of data, 80 terabytes to cover all that aerial imagery, all that bird's eye stuff. I actually didn't even show you guys the bird's eye imagery. Let me go back real quick and just show you sort of what I was talking about. I gave you a little snapshot of it. But if I dive here into Windows Live Local again, I'm just going to switch over. I'm just going to search for Venetian Hotel. I'm typing in the wrong box here. So I'm going to search for Venetian Hotel in Las Vegas. And it's going to find me my results. So here's my Venetian Hotel result. And I'll just zoom real quick down the street level on this thing. And, great view, really tells me a lot of information. Even if I switch over to the aerial view, like you'll find on a lot of the mapping sites, us and our competitors, it's sort of useful, but it sort of doesn't tell me. And then this is the other stuff that you get when you actually use our control. You actually get this bird's eye view, a little bit closer in, a little bit more realistic view. You can turn and view it from all different sides. So if I want to view the Venetian from the east, real simple. I can bring it up, zoom in even further than this actually, and see all kinds of stuff. So this is that type of rich immersive experience I'm talking about in your application. So if you guys have any questions, anything, I'm here to take questions. I'm also going to be at MIX Chat, and then my email address is here at the bottom of the slides. Slides will be online as well. Fill out your session evaluations. Tell me what you think, and I'm happy to take questions right now. Thank you. Thank you very much. Sorry, I had to do one Elvis joke.
Yeah, thanks for the talk. It's great. What's the timescale for other countries, like Australia specifically?
Yeah, so Australia's one of those great ones, right? Your government doesn't seem to like to take many pictures of its country. Yes, it's just only 20 million people there, right? Yeah, so the timescale for other countries is as soon as possible. So we're acquiring companies, acquiring imagery, acquiring all that stuff, and we'll be rolling out internationally in a pretty short-term time frame to a couple of countries, and then just expanding it from there. I can't commit to exact time frames because it's negotiations with private imagery providers, governments, all kinds of stuff.
Are you rolling out the maps first, though? I mean, just the map part of it without the imagery?
Yeah, so we will roll out phased. You'll get what you'll actually find is in future versions, we'll get in closer on the roads, we're getting closer on the imagery, even before we have all the local search stuff. So the platform will be available in other areas before it's available in our Windows Live Local site. That's one of those distinctions that you have to make. The platform is already today much more accessible to other areas than Windows Live Local, because Windows Live Local is also sort of reliant on having good local search data. The platform itself just needs all that geographic imagery. So the SOAP APIs today cover 67 countries in some form, right? So the actual SOAP APIs have find address, which is really that most important core geocoding functionality. That's available in 27 countries, predominantly the US, Australia's included, Western Europe, some of the Eastern European major metropolitan areas. There are areas where we cover like a city and its outlying suburbs, but not the whole country. Greece is a good example where we cover Athens, but they just don't have good road data on the market available for Greece yet.
If I go to Windows Live Local at the moment, I can't get to Australia, but if I use the SOAP API, I can do that now.
In your application with the SOAP API, you can pull it up today. On Windows Live Local, you won't find Australia today. I mean, what you'll find is a pretty raw zoom level 13 that does just gives you a sort of geographical overview. So Windows Live Local that's in the map control. The map control today is available only in the U.S., only in English, in any sufficient level of detail. That will change in the very near future as we expand. So the first step will be to bring it in par with MWS with the 67 countries. And the next step will be to expand the entire platform from there. So it's happening today, all the work behind it. I can't say when it's going to come to the market, but it won't be very long. SOAP APIs, like I said today, 67 countries in some form. Yeah?
Quick question on the Java control versus we kind of got left behind, those of us who are using SOAP.
Yeah.
And getting into WinFX development, and if we're trying to target a richer platform even than the browser, we get yet one more reason not to. So how soon are we going to get that same set of functionality fundamentally deployed as a control assembly?
That's a great question. So why, for anyone, why is it just JavaScript at some level, right? Why did we just do a JavaScript control? And at some level it's to reach the widest audience. We've got limited amount of developer cycles, and so we decided that JavaScript control would be possible. Some of the Microsoft research folks have done some really good work actually porting over and doing a WinForms version and a WinFX, or whatever they're calling it now. It's a WPF version of the control actually. I'm not sure when that's going to make it into product, because right now we're on 100-day sprints basically to develop this thing, and our core focus is really that international expansion, improving the quality of imagery. I don't know when we're going to go, but there are some really interesting sort of hacks you can do today. You can actually import like the HTML.dll onto a mesh inside a WPF, and then you get all the sort of 3D functionality to lay that map down and zoom it around. You just don't get the global hexahedral projections that let you sort of curve the Earth. So, but there are some things you can do to bring that into WPF today. So that JS and WPF actually work surprisingly well together, just through importing external controls. But yeah, so that's a really good point. But then the SOAP APIs, you're also not left behind. You can call them directly. You can slice up the map into tiles the way we do with our AJAX dynamically, and you can build a similar experience based on SOAP and WPF as well. So there are ways to do it. It's definitely not perfect. I don't think we've decided what the critical mass of controls are yet, but for now, it will continue to just be JavaScript. But yeah, SOAP is an excellent choice though for a WPF development, because you get to do all kinds of fun, fancy caching tricks and things like that, where you can really actually take advantage of that local application and probably actually beat the JS control in performance if you do some optimization, grab images around the current area, things like that.
Yeah, better compositing too.
What?
Better compositing capabilities as well. So.
Yeah, exactly. And so you get to do lots of better rendering and stuff. I've seen some absolutely awesome work with WPF on top of MapPoint. I'm not sure when it's going to become public. There's really, really cool stuff that people have done. So just keep your eye open for a WPF MapPoint demo that'll be coming out pretty soon on MSDN that shows you exactly how to use the SOAP APIs to build it in just an awesome application.
Okay. And on your 100-day sprint comment, those of us who are doing production enterprise level development looking to switch over to this from our own mapping environments.
Yeah.
We also live in the 100-day sprint environment. We don't want our sprints to be chasing your sprint changes.
Yeah, so versioning is really important to us and stability. So we're 100-day sprints on new versions, but we keep the old versions live, so you don't have to chase us and keep up. So we're pushing out new functionality into the 100-day sprints, like when we add additional functions, but we're still QFEing, maintaining, and running and licensing the older versions of the control.
Is there a stated contractual life cycle?
Yeah, well, let's just say this. There is now, like as of like Friday, we finally finalized that. So for the map control. So for SOAP, right, that life cycle is like 5 years, well defined. The map control, we're just establishing that now, and right now it's being done on a contract for contract basis, and it's generally 1 year. But if you're interested in licensing the map control, contact me, and we can definitely work all that out. And it also includes SLAs as well and all that stuff. But then, for the SOAP APIs, you get a pretty long guarantee of compatibility. I think, go ahead, whoever.
Can you elaborate on this location-based social networking that you mentioned on the online blurb for this?
Yeah, so Brian Arbogast did a little thing in his session, I guess it was Monday or something, where he did this application called partystart.com, and it was just sort of an idea that what they did is they extended the messenger ABCH, the sort of contact presence information, with a latitude and longitude fields, so that you could easily type in your address and it would hit us, geocode it, and it would store your current location in the thing. And they also did some real-time tracking tricks where they hooked up a cell phone with GPS, so that every 30 seconds it sent its information back out. And the purpose of their application was, to connect people so they could quickly sort of say, hey, let's meet here in an hour, and just like let's go drinking or let's go get pizza or whatever. And that was sort of their thing. But there have been a whole bunch of interesting mashups that have done different things. Everything from dating to like pure and simple like linked up style social networking that let you build that contact information based on proximity. So instead of just friends of my friends, how about friends of mine and people within 25 miles, or friends of my friends that are within my state and things like that. But that's about your application. Where we fit in is we'll provide the core services. So if you decide you're going to build a social networking application that needs to do sort of proximity-based networking, well, we've got that proximity search in there for you in the platform. And then if it's if you want to use a map-based visualization so that you can see your current network status and what geographic areas it covers, again, we've got the visualization component to let you do that. So we're not building the social networking for the platform. There's no social networking functionality built in, but we really enable that kind of scenario. That's really become a sort of a popular application with the mashup crowd and even a few startups now. Does that sort of answer your question?
How the name of this website? PartyStar, you said?
Yeah, I don't know if they put it up publicly though. So you probably have to check the session, the keynote like recording for Brian Arbogast's session. So I have no idea when or if they're going to put it up publicly, because there's all these sort of fancy privacy things when you start to muck with Messenger and say, oh, I'm going to share my location. So I think for now it was just a demo, but yeah, I'd be happy to sit down with you at the Mix chat where I'll be at if you want, and just show you, how you would enable something like that.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
No problem.
So we've built a couple things on MapPoint a few years ago. It's more about industrial applications.
Okay.
And so a lot of our customers like using things like Landmark and things like that because they're doing exploration or production, things like that. But you mentioned being able to store data up at the MapPoint server, and we'd like to take advantage of that. Maybe if I can convince our CEO that that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
But our customers will immediately push back, going like, "Well, how do I know that I can get at that data and it's secure? How do I get maybe federated login or something like that so I can get at this data?" Because some of the stuff is pretty proprietary and pretty secretive.
So on the side of the things like federated login and blah, so we have a whole multi-level ACL-based permissioning system for who can upload and change and who can read and blah, 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 like all that kind of stuff. So that's in there. But I mean, the only thing I can tell you in security is that we take it very, very seriously. It's a burden and a blessing to be able to host our customers' data. The best thing I can tell you, I can tell you, we've gone through all kinds of NGA certifications so we can support government customers who have very, very sensitive data, and that sort of doesn't mean anything. But you can take from it is all of the top like Fortune 500 companies are our customers. Just these huge companies like Starbucks, like Best Buy, who you can go today, you can see they're using our platform, they're storing their information in our service. So, that's the best sort of testament is that, these long-time customers have been very happy with the service. But yeah, we've done all kinds of security verifications and certifications so we can work with the government, though, with top secret data and things. So you can be very confident in the service and that your data won't be exposed. The map control brings a really interesting glitch to the world of data security, though. If you noticed, when I built that application, what I did is I exposed the data as an RSS feed and then bound it on the client. And what you're doing when you do that at some level, especially when you build it as simply as I did, is you're creating an anonymous proxy into this now secure data. So let's say you host all your store locations up there. Well, if you just expose it as GRSS and you don't say site referrer lock it, then you've got this just anonymous thing that someone could crawl. Now, granted, they could crawl your site that actually did the data binding on the server just to pick up the text if they wanted to. So it's not a huge difference, but we've seen it cause sensitivity with some customers. And you can do things like site referrer site locking, but if someone wants to muck with the referrer, they're going to muck with the referrer. So yeah, the map control brings some really, really interesting things into that space. And I'd say if that's your primary concern, stick with SOAP. SOAP guarantees the transaction originated from you and returns results only to you, and that you proxy out those results as appropriate to customers. The map control, not quite that simple and clear cut today. We're hoping to really do some cool security things around Ajax in the future to figure out how we do that. Long time away.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Hi. I'm working for a Yellow Pages company in up north, Sweden, and I could see a problem here. We have actually putting in a lot of money and effort to have satellite pictures, nice view, and we will never delivering all our customers to Microsoft. And I'm very interesting to hear what you will do for the yellow companies here.
Yeah. So the Windows Live Local is sort of what you're talking about, right? And so we're not expecting you to deliver your customers to us, right? So we have very good business relationships with the Yellow Page providers that we work with today. Like, so for the US, for instance, we work with all the major Yellow Page providers. And it's a two-way relationship. You share your data, but we share some of the technology, and we share some access to the platform. And of course, there's obviously money exchanges hands as well. So it's a partnership. It's not a competitive deal. We know that in order to succeed in the local business, it's important that we partner with those people who really proven success in the local business and who have something to gain from that partnership. And Yellow Page providers are one of those top people. So, if you don't want to go out and spend millions and millions and millions of dollars acquiring this imagery, why not license the platform from us? And instead of don't deliver your customers to us, why don't you just license our platform and use it in your site?
Because you don't coverage all the roads, and we have approximately search, and we could find all the stores on the road, and we could also recognize there is a lake here.
Yep.
We can't just jump over with the car and go into the shop and so on. So actually, it's really poor data.
Yeah. So as we do our international expansion, you'll see that improve. Where did you say you're from? Sweden?
Sweden.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
So
the same for, I mean, if you look at Finland, it's really bad.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So our coverage in Northern and Eastern Europe is not fantastic today, right? But we're working to change that, and we should definitely have a conversation. We'll take it offline about how we might be able to work together better. But, you know, at some respects, Microsoft competes and partners with a lot of companies and a lot of businesses. So
you will not have the opportunity to switch sources. That I could use the Microsoft source, and I could use other sources.
Yeah, so there are customers that do that today, and absolutely.
Okay.
So you can use the components of the platform that you need. So we have plenty of customers who use our geocoder and somebody else's routing algorithm or something like that. It's all part of contractual negotiations and things like that. So just let's take it offline. We'll meet at MIX chat or something if you're around. I'll give you a card, and it's definitely a componentized offering though. It's not all or nothing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi there. I went to Windows Live Local and looked up my own company. I did a search on it, and the address came up with a strange suite number that I've never seen before in my life.
Yeah, so this is one of the weird limitations. So when we license the data from YP providers like the gentleman who just got up, right? So I went and did a session the other day, and I typed in cemeteries, and the first result was Walmart. What it ends up is the local Walmart had just typed the wrong reference code into a form when they filed for their original YP entry or original Yellow Pages entry. So we get the data from data providers, and today, let me put the emphasis on that. We're stuck with that data. So you probably want to know, how do you fix that? How do you make your business more present, provide better information? What if you want to share your hours of operation? What if you want to give some coupons out to people who find you through Windows Live Local? That's about merchant enablement, and that's something that is hugely important to us going forward, and we're definitely going to make big strides there over the rest of this year. But today, the reality is, the only person you can do to fix it really is to go to whoever the YP provider is. So in the US, it's probably Verizon, and correct it there, and then downstream we will get that.
Is there a way I can find out where that information came from?
Yeah, send me an email, and I can tell you where any listing comes from. So yeah, that is a pain today, though. You want your business to be represented accurately and professionally, and yeah.
Hey, what's the licensing model at the lower end? Obviously, the larger end, if you're a big provider, you millions of users, there'll be a commercial relationship. At the lower end, where you presumably want to encourage people to try out ideas and stuff, will there always be a free level of service, or? Yeah,
so there's a basic free level for non-commercial use, as well as developer accounts, which are sort of rate limited, so that we don't get abuse against them. That's really the only reason. So there's rate limited developer accounts, and then the actual licensing is dependent on your vertical and your number of users, your use model, whether it's a known user application or a public-facing application. Like all Microsoft licensing, it might as well be Greek, right? I'm going to get in trouble from the licensing people for saying that. But no, so it depends on your application. If it's a public internet application that faces public customers and just does, uses the map control or something, it's generally a transactional licensing where you pay something like quad 0.75. Don't quote me on that. By no means. That's just an example, right? But quad 0.75 per transaction, and where a transaction is defined as, and we have this long definition. Long story short, every 8 tiles you pull is a transaction in the map control, and every route, every render, all those things, but they all cost hundredths or thousandths of cents. And that's generally our most popular model, and the vast majority of our customers use that. There are plenty of other pricing models to fit other things. So when we deal with telecom providers, or when we deal with known user applications, we have all these other best fit licensing. So it's just email me about it. I can get you in contact with our map people, and they can find the right plan for you. So, cool. Does anybody else have any other questions for the mics? Well, if not, I'll hang around here. You can ask me questions in person, and I'm going to swing down to MIX chat and grab some lunch myself. Feel free to ask me questions. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time, and I hope you enjoyed the conference.